Welcome to Post Game Podcast. I'm your host, June. And before I get into uh this segment, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to Bleachers, the speakers on YouTube. I messed that up, but still, this show continues. For your audio fix, you can check us out on all the aggregators. Those are platforms like YouTube Music, Spotify, anywhere you can listen to an audio podcast. You can find us. Just type in your search post game podcast FFSN. Make sure you hit that alert button. So it's a notification button. So when we drop content, you'll get an alert. Download those episodes. They don't take up much space. Just download them. You can erase them later. We need that credit for that download, though. What we have here is our featured player of the week, old school edition, inspired by the other half of Post Game Podcast, B. Foster. Of course, I don't do the spectacular job that he does with his featured players, but hey, I'm trying, right? So here's what we have here. If you're listening and can't watch, you should really subscribe to YouTube, to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube. You can find this and you'll see who I'm talking about. This guy was probably the second best point guard we've had here as a Piston. This is none other than Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot, right? And the reason why I'm doing this featured profile on Chauncey Billups is because I had a little fallout with someone that said he really wasn't that good. And I take offense to that. And it's off the heels of what Malik Beasley is doing now. He's crushing that 211, which three-pointers made in a season. That was a record for a very long time. And it was by Sadiq Bey. And there was a comment that a buddy of mine said, that's why. That just lets you know Chauncey wasn't that good. I just beg to differ. This guy is one of the reasons why we got our last championship. He played from 2002 to 2008 when they got him. He had been kind of traveled. He was drafted. I think he was drafted out of Boston. He went to the University of Colorado. I think Boston drafted him first. I think he went to another team. I'm not quite sure. I don't really care. But I know he was looking for a chance to revive his career here, and he certainly did. He played about 307 games. He averaged about 14 points a game, roughly 3 rebounds a game, 4 assists, and he had a steal a game. He wasn't your lightning quick point guard, but he was a smooth point guard. He was a big point guard, so he could post you up. They called him Mr. Big Shot for a reason. Now the game has changed a lot, which was my argument to my friend. It wasn't my co-host. It wasn't B. Foster. But the game has changed. They're shooting threes before they try a layup. It wasn't like that in 2004. You didn't have anybody just shooting a bunch of threes, and your point guard certainly wasn't the one that took a bunch of them. Those were your shooting guards and your small forwards. The game was designed like that. Now everybody's shooting threes. So Chauncey didn't take a bunch of them, but when he took them, they counted. And they call him Mr. Big Shot because although he only shot, well, I'm going to say only, he shot 38% from threes. But if you did a statistic, whether it was for the lead, for the win, to tie the game, that percentage goes up. We call him Mr. Big Shot for a reason. He hit 38% for three-point land, and I guarantee you, when the game was on the line, or when a three was needed, or when a bucket was needed, that percentage was a lot higher than that. His field goal percentage, he shot around 42, 43%, and he was an 85% free throw shooter. he was a very good free throw shooter. These numbers underscore his role as a Piston. Uh, he was a balanced guard. He could score, he could facilitate, and he could contribute on defense. His shooting was very reliable. I'm telling you, the numbers don't jump out at you, but this guy was a champion. And when he got here, he made a difference. I think him paired with Rip Hamilton was one of the biggest reasons why the turnaround was here in Detroit. Now, people want to say, hey, Rasheed Wallace is the reason why you got a championship. I agree. Okay. I think he was the missing piece to the puzzle. But I think as far as guard play, it started with getting Chauncey Billups in that backcourt with Rip Hamilton, and they took off from there. Chauncey Billups was he's probably the second best point guard in Pistons history, and he only played 6 years here. So you do 6 or 7 years, not quite, can't remember what it was, but you do the math, right? If you can name a better point guard outside Isaiah Thomas that was here above Chauncey Billups, then we got a conversation. I don't think you're going to win it, though. Make sure you subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers. That about wraps it up for this segment. This guy was a guy, one of my favorite players, Mr. Big Shot, Chauncey Billups.